Okay, that's always fun. Pop up the chat here. Have this up. Okay. Oh, I have to tweet this. Hold on. 500 things to do. There's a million things. I will be right there. Just give me a second. Cancel or keep it in this. All right, we're on a Patreon. And I'm going to type that it is live, so say hi when you're in the chat. You know what I can do? Put this on. Like, starting in 2 minutes. Just want to make sure. My marker's done. Just want to make sure that you guys can even see that. Okay. Hold on. Just do it in regular one. That's better. Just have to screw this out. Here. And then I have to flop it. You have to realize that. There's a thing. Hit settings on. Okay. Should be good. Okay. Let me see Patreon thing. I play music, but I'm pretty sure we're getting like cut. It could be mad at me. Okay. Need to post the link. Okay. You guys are early because we are about to start. Test, test, test. Make sure you can hear this. Can somebody give me a yes or a no on audio? Because here I am. I am here. It's started. I could probably zoom in on your words so I can see them. I wonder. Let's see if it'll let me. Nice. Actually, it is. That was actually pretty handy. Okay, perfect. All right. I don't have a marker. It was super important for whiteboard videos. Okay, we got this. All right, guys. Hello, everybody. I'm Nando. I should probably move this a little closer. The text is mirrored correctly. Hold on a second. So, okay, it's incorrectly. That's interesting. All right, let's try again. It has this. Is it fixed? Okay. As we're good. All right, cool. I think we got it. I think everything is good. You can hear me. You can see me. You can read the text. There's not gonna be, I mean, this text will go away soon. Let me get my marker. It's a fine Sam Rockwell. I can do better. You know, we got a second. We'll let people get in here and fix the Sam Rockwell. Here's the thing. I don't love the eyes. I'm going to be honest. I think the eyes need more character. And I think that's kind of where it's losing me. The problem is when you draw it, if you don't start with the eyes, you get this like guy without eyes. And he looks very like distinguished. And then you're like, that's not Justin Hammer. And then you got to like, so the eyes are really important. I'm going to really zoom in on and make sure I get it. Okay. All right. So everybody that is in the chat, come, say hi, introduce yourselves. I see a bunch of you guys here. He does have a crazy, his IMDb is great. It's all over the place. He's done a lot of stuff recently that's very different. I loved him in Jojo Rabbit. Like, he's really fun in that. And like a movie about Nazis, but like he's got an interesting character there. So his first eye, here's what we're going to do. That's not it either. It's a process, This is art, guys. We're watching art happen. It's going to be, I'm going to like really nail down what his glasses are too, because they're a little boxier than I'd drawn. It's up and over. And then it's this, and then under, right? So they got that. Other eye. This one's a little tilted. I didn't tilt this glasses particularly. So we're going to give everybody a second to get in, because I know I just tweeted this out. It'll probably take people some time. But while we're doing that, I'm going to draw a better Justin Hammer. And then hopefully that will help. That's like the blessing that we do with these, where we draw the guy or the thing we're going to talk about so that the conversation is good and crops are fruitful. That is super important. You want good crops. Oh, it's way too low. So it is a Friday night. We just finished recording the Mostly Nitpicking podcast, which is this week's is very fun. It's about the Dark Universe, which is terrible. We did the Mummy first one, the most recent, not the first one, I guess, but the first one of the Dark Universe. I wish we did the first one because the first Mummy is awesome, and this new one is bad. So this is going to be quite an improvement. If you've never seen the first one, I'd say go over and watch that. But if you have this, you'll hate this. That eye's a little too high. I think I spend that much time on Justin Hammer's eyes, but this is kind of important to me. This is my white whale. This is my... Okay, so we got everybody. Okay. I don't know how I feel about the eye. It needs to be darker. Because he's like, his eyes are narrow at this point. He's like asking questions. He's like, what am I going to do here? And I think the problem is this one's too big. It's fine. That's Justin Hammer. We all got it. Thank you, Kevin. So I've seen his bits of 3 bullet boards. I haven't watched the full, like the entire movie of it. I do hear it's good. I hear he's great in it, but I haven't gotten all of that out of it yet. But so here's what we're going to be doing today. Let's just get myself a little over here. Move over. Sorry, I'm going to be moving in the next couple of days, so I need some space. And this will be a lot like cleaner, and the filming of this will be a lot easier. But we're going to do this. We're going to talk about Justin Hammer in the MCU. So the question posed to me. And hello, everybody that is here, and keep chatting. I'm going to try to find the original post so I can give that person their credit. But on the Patreon last week, for people that aren't familiar, we're doing these live streams where I am going to talk about a thing, answer a question posed by you guys, or like solve a problem. This one's kind of like solve a problem, but the idea is we're taking Justin Hammer, my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's like a, not like Iron Man or whatever. And we're going to try to figure out how to integrate Justin Hammer into the Marvel Cinematic Universe again, because he's still alive. This is all possible as the new villain. So we got this suggestion from, here it is. So Luke on Patreon suggested, how would you make Justin Hammer the next big bad of the MCU? So I do have some suggestions. I have some ideas here. We're going to go over them. We're going to try to get into some detail. I'm not going to talk spoilers. There's really nothing to spoil, but we do have to kind of talk about the current state of the MCU and kind of what I'm expecting from it. But again, not very much spoiling, especially since the first two movies that it's not going to have too much of an effect on are, I'm going to pull this a little closer, are Black Widow, which is a prequel, and then, sorry. Yeah, there we go. So Black Widow prequel, and then Eternals super prequel. So we've got a lot we can talk about a lot here, but those two, which are the movies we know the most about, will not come up very much in this. I'd say, honestly, based on what we know, the best way to make Justin Hammer the next big bad of the MCU would be to set him up as the overarching villain of the TV shows, and he can dip into some of the movies. But like, for people that don't know, also hello, Aesthetic Gorgeous, thank you. Happy birthday. I'm 31, which means I'm dead, according to this one GIF I found from the Saturday Night Live Bachelor sketches. But let's talk about, here's where we're going to start this. We're going to talk about Justin himself. Things we know about Justin Hammer. So he was in Iron Man 2. He also has a tiny cameo in Iron Man 3's post-credit scene, which is like a not even post-credit scene. It's like a little mini movie about the Mandarin that comes with the DVD where you see him in prison. So he's still in prison after the events of Iron Man 3. He's alive, as far as we know. He is disgraced. So he's former... we'll put that in quotes because you might need that later. Arms manufacturer, although again, putting things in quotes here. I don't know exactly in the comics, or not, and I don't know. Well, I don't know in the comics. I don't know in the movies what the backstory with Justin Hammer is. If he inherited the company, if he built it. It seems like he has a couple of skills that he's used to get himself to where he is, right? So, but here's some things he's not. He's not a genius. He also doesn't seem to be just like mentally stable. Although that's not a big deal, but that's just because like that. So the two things that he has this giant chip on his shoulder about being not a genius, and that forces him to make bad decisions. Maybe mentally stable isn't the right idea, but he's just not generally, he doesn't have good self-control, let's say. He's got bad self-control. But those are good things for a villain to have, because he's not a genius, he doesn't have much self-control. He is, and his main quality, the main thing that you can take away from Justin Hammer, the only scene where he appears even remotely competent, is the scene that this is very loosely taken from, where he's arming what will eventually be the War Machine Mark II Iron Man suit, right? So he's a good salesman, and that's really important. And I think it's interesting because in Iron Man 2, they kind of undercut his ability to sell, because Tony is a good salesman. He's a good salesman. I think you could make a case that it would be a more interesting movie if he is a better salesman than Tony, and that is clearly what makes him better. The only reason I think that is kind of upended in Iron Man 2 is there's the bit where he goes onto stage and he does this little dance, right, and comes out and he's just like, "Oh, Iron Man, Tony Stark wouldn't let us have it. It's not fair. It's not right." But there's going to be a new headline. The papers are going to run out of ink. And that's a joke because it's bad. It's not a good joke. Like it's funny for us. And he kind of loses a little bit of steam. And then he goes into his presentation where he presents the robots and they all salute and it's awesome, right? So I think that little bit of him miscalculating that one joke is kind of like not a dig at him, but it's like he should be a little better than this, because that is his main skill. He can sell things. Now, what other skills does he have? He's kind of friendly. He's not likable necessarily, but he is connected, right? So he seems to have a fair amount of connections within the government, within manufacturing. He's able to finagle getting Whiplash Vanko out of prison in Russia, so that's pretty big. He also has contracts with the different armed forces, like he golfs with the general who is Hydra, and I'd put dollars on us. There's no way he knows that guy's Hydra. I wouldn't say he's Hydra, but so there's a lot of things that he's doing that he is legitimately good at. So then the question we have to ask to figure out how he can be the next big bad in the MCU is how can we leverage these three things that he is good at, salesman, friendly, connected, into something that is interesting to watch? How can that character be the big bad? Now, we've seen a couple of big bads, although really we've only got, I'm thinking big bad in terms of like phase 4, he's the bad guy. And you may be wondering, okay, so phase 3, bad guy is Thanos. Phase 2, bad guy's kind of also Thanos. Phase 1, bad guy's Loki, I guess. He's not at that level. But he can facilitate interesting things. Because I'm thinking of phase 4 as kind of a transition phase. A lot of the heroes are new. There is no real core Avenger group that even exists right now. It's the big, like, kind of open question is what is the Avengers in whatever it is, 2023, but in 2020 right now for us, the audience. So we're going to answer those questions, and that gives us time to establish a smaller, like Justin Hammer style big bad, and have him put all the pieces on the right spaces in the board so that we can do cool things in the future and establish future big bads. So good salesman, friendly, connected. The other big benefit Justin Hammer has right now is, and this is pretty important, is there is I'll reopen this circle of positives. Let's give a little positive there and a little negative. So those are your negatives, it's your positive. Most important spoiler for Endgame, Tony Stark is dead. Tony Stark's legacy is very important, and it's still a big part of the world. Obviously, we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming, there's pictures of him everywhere. He's on all the walls. It's big. However, there is no Tony Stark right now. So there's a lot of options for someone else to fill that void. Now, we'd have to establish a couple of things. The big one being he is out of jail. Now, I still think he could do this. I think because I've had an idea for a Thunderbolts video for a while, which I just can't quite nail down all of. But the idea for that is, oh, hi, Udi. Thank you. I can draw kind of. This is, I promise, next one will be better. But he is, so the Thunderbolts video idea is how do we get, so we have a couple of problems, not problems we have to solve, but just questions. I'm going to erase these things. So I'm going to move on to the questions. And we've kind of already answered one, which is what makes him dangerous. He's a good salesman, he's connected, and he's rich. We can assume that he still has money. I don't know how that works, if it's like a Schitt's Creek scenario where his money is all gone because he did all crimes. But let's assume he's still got some of it, and he still has a brand. It's not a great brand, but it's a brand. He's got somewhere to start. So what's the first question we have to ask? This is really important about how Justin Hammer. So first big question, how does Justin Hammer escape prison? So we have two answers. So there's two options here. The first one is the one I think a lot of people have thought might happen at some point, which is Thunderbolts, right? The Thunderbolts are basically the Suicide Squad. Well, they're not always, but they can be the Suicide Squad of the Marvel comics where General Thunderbolt Ross assembles a team of villains to do some, off the books Black Ops mission. So Justin Hammer would be a great person to be part of the Thunderbolts because he is rich, he's wealthy, and I like the idea, and I think this is how I would involve him in the story. And say General Ross needs to get this project done completely off the books. Justin Hammer's job could be to fund the project. So it's like, we'll bring Hammer on. He can fund this project. He'll get to pretend to be Iron Man as a character called, which I'm definitely not the first person to talk about this and bring this idea up, although I have had it for a while, the Titanium Man, which is basically just his crappy Iron Man. It can even not really work, and that's always fun. So he joins the group, and he's got his own big giant Iron Man suit that sucks, but he's really just there to fund the organization. So at the end, they complete their mission, and Justin Hammer he escapes. He's out of prison. Second option that I think is equally simple, he just rats people out. He takes a deal, 10 years maybe, which over this is enough time. It could also relate it to the snap, but I think we could have him be a clean record, or have him have a clear record. Just be like, here's what I am right now. I know I made mistakes. I was never perfect. Neither was Tony Stark. And that's the kind of thing we would always say. And you guys love him. So maybe, I deserve a second chance. I sold out a bunch of people that were bad. Anybody that helped me get Vanko out of prison. I got Vanko a really, really solid sentence. Maybe he also sold out his gopher guy just because he's a crappy guy. And now he's out back on the streets, reformed image. I think that is acceptable. In fact, I think that's fun because it's super realistic, and we don't have to I'd love to have him on the Thunderbolts, but I don't want to do the Thunderbolts and just to get him where I want him to go. I think you can just say he's already out of prison. And that is important because he has, and this is something he really needs to do. I want to rehabilitate his image. Now, I don't want him to be a good guy, but I want him to plausibly be a good guy in the eyes of the public. What do I mean? Well, Justin Hammer is I like this character because he is kind of a goofball. I think he facilitates a lot of fun things that happen in that movie. But the idea of a less than Tony Stark, I think is just entertaining. I think people enjoy seeing that. So I like the idea that this guy, and people have said that this is how Boris Johnson operates, not to get into politics, but he's also just kind of a goofball, and he's able to get away with things because of that. He, zip lines and looks like a dork or whatever. I like the idea that there is this guy in the form of Justin Hammer who used to be a super criminal, and the world's seen way worse. So if this guy, this random businessman who had drones, is able to say listen, I know Tony Stark is dead. I know you guys don't really have anybody for this now, but we need some drones. I've got drones. I've got all kinds of patents. I will share them with the government. You guys just have to let me do it, and it'll be awesome. And I'll be the new Tony Stark. I know no one can take his place, but I guess someone has to, so it'll be me. So Justin Hammer can take up that legacy and rehabilitate his image in the public. Now he can go on, an apology tour. He can say he was an alcoholic, even though I don't remember him drinking in the movie. He can make himself seem like a victim in all the ways that currently society likes victims to be, to behave. Kiss the rings. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this. Maybe he even has some sort of public meeting with Pepper, and maybe just happy, which would be super brutal, but they would just have to deal with it because it's all right, I guess, for some reason or another, we have to be nice to him. We have to humor him. So Justin Hammer has a rehabilitated image. This is very important. I have to become a better writer when it comes to actually, I need better penmanship if I'm going to keep doing these, which I am because these are fun. Okay. How does he escape prison? He's rehabilitating his image. So this is the third part. So we're getting into the things that I mentioned before. We're going to utilize his existing connections. Who does Justin Hammer know? Who can he use as a, not reference, but as an entry point into something bigger? How is he going to get back in the game? So I think we're going to give him one big connection that I think is crucial, and we can get this from Titanium in here. We're going to get him talking to and working with General Ross, right? So General Ross is still going in this, and I think he was the Secretary of Defense in Infinity War, so I can't imagine he's not still. He seems like the kind of figure that would be popular. So I like the idea, and this is where I'd kind of start making some big changes. I want General Ross to be the new president of the MCU. That's the kind of president I think people would be interested in. You know, he's got a strong personality. He's military. People are really worried. There's no Tony Stark. Obviously, he'd be president. There's no Captain America. Obviously, he would be president. So Thunderbolt Ross can be president. And then, and this is the really weird one, and like the really big leap we're going to have to take. Thunderbolt Ross, like, sorry, cats use letterbox. Just I scrape at it. Thunderbolt Ross is rehabilitated, helped to rehabilitate Justin Hammer's image so he can use Justin Hammer's drones. And this is the big one. This is how Justin Hammer is going to be the new big bad of the MCU. Justin Hammer is General Ross's Secretary of Defense. So again, this is a big leap. But Secretary of Defense, from what I understand, is appointed and confirmed. And I think Justin Hammer, based on his connections and being a good salesman, can do that. And he can say, here are my drones. Here's how I can help, be the next Tony Stark. And as we've seen from Iron Man, that's a question that the world wants an answer to, is who is going to be the next Tony Stark. So I think making Justin Hammer the Secretary of Defense is a good way to keep Justin Hammer involved in the story, and to get Justin Hammer, to a place of power now. And this is, sorry, I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything here on things. So now this is important. So he's the Secretary of Defense. This is how he's going to be the villain of Phase 4 of the MCU. Here's what we have to do now. For the next big question we have to ask, I'm going to erase this. I feel like I'm a teacher saying I'm erasing things. Like, remember, take your notes, kids. I'm erasing this. This will be on the test. I have a test at the end of the year about all these. Okay. So let's talk about this, because we don't know everything about this yet. But we can kind of make some assumptions. What does MCU Phase 4 look like? Make a list of the things that I don't think he can really have any big impact on. Well, no, we'll go chronologically. So Black Widow. And we'll do movies first. Eternals. Doctor Strange. I missed one, but it's Shang-Chi. Thor 4. I'll also put Black Panther 2 in here. And Captain Marvel 2. Let's do TV shows. We've got, what is it called? Falcon Winter Soldier? I honestly can't remember what the name of that one is. Oh, man. Cat wants attention. Hold on. She's going to get a little bit of attention. What a sweetie. Okay, Falcon Winter Soldier. WandaVision. Loki. Okay. What If? Hawkeye, although that one I think is pretty in limbo, but I think that would be good. Like that's a good one to think about. Couple that we have confirmation that will exist, but don't know when. Oh my God, Rosie cannot be on the mattress. Hawkeye, you do Miss Marvel, which for people that don't know, different from Captain Marvel. Moon Knight. Oh my God, Rosa. She-Hulk. this cat. She is humongous. Okay. So, I'm going to put this down for a second. So, what we have to work with here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shows. That's 15 things. Now, 2 of them were completely, one we're done, a bunch of them were done filming. I think Black Widow is finished, although I think we can still have the impact of Justin Hammer as Secretary of Defense present in that. We also have Falcon and the Winter Soldier seems more or less done, although it seems like they're still filming that because we're getting some things coming out, some posters that are actually pretty awesome of a certain Captain America surrogate. Eternal seems like it's either mostly done or completely done. WandaVision also seems mostly or close to done. Oh my gosh, so sweet. All right. Okay, so let's cross off ones that I don't think he can really have too big of an effect on. Eternals. We don't know what this is, but like he's not going to affect that in any interesting way. Doctor Strange. Also, that's going to be multiverse of madness. There's no way he's gonna I don't want Justin Hammer to be in charge of the multiverse. However, I do think, and I want to say this now, I think we'll get a change to that name. I don't think that movie will be called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in the future. I think it will be changed to something like Doctor Strange Nightmare or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. But I don't know. There's something about the name there and Sam Raimi potentially being in charge. I think they'll change that name. Shang-Chi, for sure, we're keeping. Thor 4, I'm going to cut. Captain Marvel, I'm going to cut. These both take place in space. Shows, Falcon Winter Soldier, perfect. WandaVision, yes. Loki, I don't know what they're doing with that, but it's time travel. What If? Definitely not that, because that's like a separate cartoon. Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, all great. So, this is how Justin Hammer can affect the MCU in the future. And we'll talk about what he's going to do. Well, let's talk about some things that we already know are going to happen, things that we've seen in trailers, and just like things that we know are going to happen. Falcon and Winter Soldier, we're getting U.S. agents. This has Justin Hammer written all over it. Justin Hammer, oh, I'm the new Captain America. I'm in charge, or I'm the new Iron Man. I'm in charge. I'm gonna take his space in the government. If I want to, I should make my own Captain America so I can also kind of have control over that character as well. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm both sides of it. So he would create U.S. Agent. He would come up with the idea, the super soldier serum. I'm sure someone would reverse engineer and he'd try to use one. It would drive what's his name crazy, the actual U.S. Agent. But the idea that he is doing this, creating U.S. Agent, creating the villain here, I think is important because he is Justin Hammer. And what he's trying to do is create the new, series of the new villains, or create the new heroes. He's trying to assemble his own Avengers poorly. U.S. Agent, big part of it. So in WandaVision, it seems like there's going to be something in the MCU called Sword, which is the opposite of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is not the opposite. They don't try to, but they use they're space oriented. It's W is world. The D is defense. I don't know what SWORD stands for. I'm sure we'll all know in 6 months. But it seems like that would be part of WandaVision. So I'd like to have him be part of creating SWORD, or at least overseeing it and kind of messing it, he would get too far up into its business, making it slightly ineffective, right? So I think maybe you guys can see what I'm going for here. Justin Hammer is going to be the worst Secretary of Defense in history. And instead of actually actively being a bad guy, he is going to let all of his worst impulses go. Like he is going to be the worst version of himself with the most power. And then he is going to create a power vacuum for some things to fill. So we have Sword, government agency. He's going to cripple them, right? Hawkeye, I think he can make things difficult for Hawkeye. Forcing Hawkeye to leave S.H.I.E.L.D. and stay away from the government. I think that's important. Also, if you guys are in the chat, say hi. Usually there's more chats. And I see some of you guys are watching, which is great. I'm curious to see if it's just see who's here and how we're feeling about this. But So he's going to force him into hiding, right? Hawkeye was loyal to Cap and Iron Man, so of course Justin Hammer wouldn't want him around in the government. Then we have these three: Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. I mean, she obviously has to sue him. That's perfect. Oh, and I guess we'll also throw in here Spider-Man 3. Home from Home or whatever. Homeward Bound. Sorry. Okay. So, forcing Hawkeye into hiding. So Hawkeye is not in S.H.I.E.L.D. Sword sucks. There's a new Captain America that everyone is going to... Oh, hi, Andrew. Okay, cool. So, Captain America is going to solve everybody's problems, but he's bad because Justin Hammer is rushing this guy out into the world, like getting him into this big power, like position of power, even though he's not ready. He's going to look the other way when U.S. Agent goes crazy, which I'm assuming he'll do. I think that's how a U.S. Agent story should work at some point. Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk. And we're going to work on some assumptions. Oh, someone asked, where can you see the comments? That's a great question. I'm not sure. Anyone can answer that question. But Hammer's making new Avengers. Wouldn't it make sense for him to recruit She-Hulk? So he's kind of, but we'll get to She-Hulk. She's important later. So Black Widow's a prequel. Don't quite know where we're going to end up here, although I do want Taskmaster to just be around. I don't want Taskmaster to die. And it totally depends on who this character is, but I would love the idea of a Taskmaster character working for the government. Sometimes he does, or at least within it. And also, like, kind of lost to the history books. Shang-Chi. This is a fun one. So Shang-Chi is going to feature a real Mandarin, right? And this is the first hint of what the big problem Justin Hammer is going to solve, or is the big problem he's going to create that is going to bring up opportunities in the future. And Black Panther is going to touch on this as well. These are going to be international incidents, right? Shang-Chi is going to be the Mandarin is taking over China or something. And Black Panther, I imagine, as we've kind of assumed, might involve Namor, the Submariner. So I want Justin Hammer, his incompetence is going to allow these world events to spin out of control, right? So in a situation where the Avengers might help Black Panther deal with Namor, or just get involved, or help Shang-Chi fight the Mandarin, even though they will ask for help, he's not going to give it because he's not prepared. Similar thing with Miss Marvel and the Inhumans. Seems like the Inhumans are going to be a big part of her story, and I like the idea that Justin Hammer being in charge lets things get much worse in a way that it wouldn't make sense if they did with a competent Justin Hammer type figure. Moon Knight, I'm really not sure what they're going to do with him, what story they're going to continue with, but I would say, I don't know. I'm going to cross Moon Knight off the list for now. So She-Hulk. I like the idea. And so let's say a She-Hulk show is a crime procedural. I love the idea that she, at some point in the show, is working for Justin Hammer. I feel like it's logical to make him the foil of either. Hammer, either War Machine or maybe Ant-Man. Well, yeah, I think, and it seems like War Machine is going to be active in the MCU somewhere. And I think if there's one character who just won't trust him, it's Pepper and Rhodey together, or the like Iron Man characters. So I agree, Jackson. I think having maybe having War Machine show up in Spider-Man 3 as a check on Justin Hammer and as a way to try to solve the problems Justin Hammer is creating, but we'll get to Spider-Man 3, would be helpful. Although I definitely want Spider-Man 3 to be its own thing. So if anything, there should be another movie that is the War Machine movie, regardless of whether he's a Skrull or not. I'm not ready to give up on it, although it's probably not happening, but we'll find out. She-Hulk. Okay. So I want She-Hulk to be his lawyer. I want She-Hulk to be involved in suing people. And I want her to kind of be a thorn in his side as a check against what he is doing. And since her show is going to probably come out last, or it's going to be one of the last shows, I like the idea that she's going to kind of unravel not what he's doing, but what is getting worse by being involved in smaller cases and like and the law, like lawsuits and crime and stuff like that. So she's not. Maybe I oversold her. She's not super important, but okay. So Spider-Man 3 is going to be where I'm going to erase the board one more time because I want to talk about what MCU Phase 5 I think should be, how we should be moving forward in the MCU, and kind of what the ultimate fate of Justin Hammer should be in Justin Hammer's legacy. So, let's this MCU Phase 5. Wow, 5. So there's 3 things that I want to set up and 3 kind of pieces that have been put in motion or could be put in motion based on Justin Hammer's general incompetence. The first one, this is the obvious one from what we've kind of talked about. Where's I going with this? Country, not name for non-humans. And I'm not really going to talk too much. I think the X-Men will show up to some extent in Phase 5, but I don't think it's really like, I don't see the X-Men as an interesting. I just don't see them as interesting here. War Machine and Ant-Man falling on Avengers, yeah, that could be fun, especially with Stature and all the and potential ones that might show up in WandaVision. Although honestly, who knows what they're doing? But okay, so I remembered, and it was just like I had to kind of prioritize them. Whoops. So first guy that's going to show up is in Spider-Man 3. I think we have to introduce Norman Osborn, and Norman Osborn has to sidle up with Justin Hammer. So I think if I were doing something as the end of Phase 4 or the beginning of Phase 5, that would be your Dark Avengers storyline. For people that don't know, Dark Avengers is Norman Osborn takes over the government, makes his own Avengers. So it's kind of like the Thunderbolts, the original Thunderbolt story. I don't think it would be exactly the same, and I wouldn't want it to be. I wouldn't want it to be Justin Hammer is just like, I'll make, or Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, in case people don't know, is like, I'll make my own Captain America and my own Iron Man and trick people into thinking they're the old ones. Like, that's what he does, and I don't think that would work. Since where Iron Patriot comes from, that's where the Sentry shows up. There's a fake Wolverine. Scorpion, Matt Gargan is a fake Venom. So I wouldn't want to do that necessarily, but I think the first really important thing that the power vacuum creates is space for Norman Osborn within the government to create the Dark Avengers. I think they can be a really big part of Phase 5 directly, right? Like they are Phase 5's big bad, and this is going to force our new Avengers to assemble, right? So this is where we'll get them, which will be whoever's around at the time, which honestly I have no idea what that will even look like. But I think so. Norman Osborn. Where am I reading the comments? Oh, I have them on my computer screen. So Norman Osborn creates the Dark Avengers, which creates the new Avengers. So that's important. That's a good move for Phase 5 because that's something we need. And I think the way you do that is by having Justin Hammer be in charge of everything and set us on a path to failure. So then the second slightly more important thing that I think we have to get out in the like Phase 6 or Phase 5. Do I think Hulk has a role in New Avengers? Yeah, I don't know what we're doing with Hulk. I think maybe kill him, honestly. Have him, I don't know. There's really no space left for him. He's too smart. He knows time travel. Yeah. I mean, you can make Hulk a bad guy. Make Hulk go Super Savage Hulk and do Maestro. But I don't have a ton of great ideas for what to do with Hulk aesthetic oranges. Honestly, I don't think the MCU does either at this point because they don't seem to know what to do with them at every single point in his story. So he's going to get Norman Osborn in the door so Norman Osborn can form the Dark Avengers. Second thing he's going to do, he is going to cripple Sword. So the space, whatever, ORD defense. Oh, yeah, that's true. Daniel Kaluuya's character is still alive, although I think he's in jail. Jackson asked, I can't remember if Daniel Kaluuya's character, I think his name starts with a B, but can't remember if he's still alive in Black Panther. The Daniel Kaluuya's guy from Get Out. He could use Wakanda tech to be the pseudo Black Panther for Dark Avengers. Yeah, that's true. You can get a couple Black Panther would be an easy one to fake if you had a Taskmaster, because you just need a little bit of vibranium, which should be something that you can just buy now, or at least get, or fake, and then have like his power is completely athletic. You could really sub Taskmaster for pretty much anybody. So your crippling sword. What is this going to lead to? Our Earth is going to be vulnerable for a future alien invasion, potentially a secret invasion. These are your scrolls. So evil scrolls have to get into Earth. So I think having this government force, like to having you, because we do have Sword. That is definitely in WandaVision. So if we're gonna create Sword, I think it should be to some extent screwed up by an incompetent Justin Hammer, because I think I like the idea that him getting out, because he'll either be killed or just be forced out of the government by the end of Avengers, or whatever, by the end of Phase 4, will give the people in Sword an opportunity to kind of shore things up and go, oh no, there are actually Skrulls here and here and here, and some of them are off the grid and we're in a lot of trouble, and now we're getting a secret invasion where some of the Avengers are Skrulls and some aren't, and we can start subbing them in and out in Phase 4, so that we have new Skrull characters like Black Panther or whatever. And I think that can be a fun move to do in Phase 5. The last thing that's super important, and we've talked about this before, I'm obsessed. I think this needs to be something that happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is going to... What's the word I guess I'm looking for? He's going to... There's a specific word. I guess, like, he's going to create a power vacuum. You know what? He's going to... Release isn't the right word. Let's say destroy. Destroy isn't the right word either, but something like this. He's going to destroy checks on dictators. So he's going to kind of leave. So he's going to... Justin Hammer is going to be an besides being just bad as being a government, besides running the government poorly on an internal sense, like making Sword useless and letting Norman Osborn become part of the Dark Avengers, he is also going to let whatever happens on in foreign countries, things that the United States might intervene in or just get involved in, and the world would care more about, he's going to destroy those checks with his incompetence and not necessarily create power vacuums, but he is going to create an environment. This is more of it. He's going to create an environment friendly to dictators, which is going to give the biggest bad of Phase 5, Dr. Doom, opportunity to take over Latveria. So I don't think this wouldn't happen without Hammer, but I love the idea that these three events, these three really important things that are going to be the most important three kind of forces that exist in the MCU, and I don't think Galactus or Kang are really going to fill that void, but a secret invasion, Doctor Doom, and Dark Avengers, those three things are all given the opportunity to create and thrive, not because some supervillain like Thanos is pulling all the strings, just because of the unintended consequence of leaving Justin Hammer, the world's best salesman, but the world's worst manager, in charge of the most important part of the government. And this isn't, and I know the way I'm describing this, it seems like I'm super like anti-government or like from a political standpoint, I don't think this would really sell either side. So on one side, it's like you want competent government or you want less government. So I don't think this would be super political. I would love, honestly, to make Justin Hammer president, but I don't think he can get away with it because I think he's way too on in a lot of superficial ways and a lot of like other ways. He's a little too Trumpy for it to be fun. Great salesman who does presentations, cozies up with a Russian guy to get revenge on his enemy. Golfs, hates Vanity Fair, all those things. And it sucks because I love this guy so much. Not a fan of the other one. But if it wasn't for Trump, I would definitely make him president because I think that's super fun. Give him all of the power. But I think putting Ross in charge, and Ross is busy with everything, and Red Hulk stuff and Thunderbolt stuff. And then that gives Justin Hammer room to do whatever he wants. And that gives him room to screw up. Norman Osborn is able to take over when he fails and create the Dark Avengers. Sword is unable to curtail the secret invasion, which would happen while Justin Hammer is in charge. And then dictators are able to run free, which would give Doom the space to really turn Latveria into a robotic superpower that would threaten the Fantastic Four when they show up. And they would be phase 5 or 6, maybe late phase 6 is when the Fantastic Four would show up. But I would put Doom in before, and I said that last week or last stream, is getting Doom into the MCU and really establishing him as badass and like someone who is capable of defeating all of the Avengers on their best day is really important. And I just love the idea that Justin Hammer is part of that. I do want to look at some of these comments. So I got Derek saying, would be great if Justin Hammer just accidentally made a Dark Avengers in his attempt to be a competent Secretary of Defense, putting every powered or teched out goon he can find on a team. Yeah, that would be really funny. And I think you could make one of them Norman Osborn. He could see Norman Osborn, not even the Green Goblin, but just like this guy that has invented something similar to the Iron Man suit. And maybe Norman Osborn could be like, I will fix your suit that you made, your stupid Titanium Man suit. You just have to put me on your government task force of like super people. And you know what? I'm even pretty good at this, so I can lead the task force. And just kind of like, oh my God, good, because I don't want to do that. I'm actually not great at leading. I don't want to, don't tell anybody this, but I'm pretty terrible at every facet of my job. And then, yeah, you could do a fake Black Panther. You could do a trick shot because I believe he's going to be part of Hawkeye if they ever make that show. You can put in a fake Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. There's plenty of those. Who knows where the Black Knight's going to be? So some version of him. You can even put him on the bad guy team. Because I think the Black Knight was originally a Thunderbolt who defected. And then, yeah, Taskmaster can fill in for Hawkeye. Well, I guess Trickshot's Hawkeye. So Taskmaster can fill in for anybody. And then you have the fake Captain America, the U.S. agent, like going and doing his thing. And I like the idea that like between Thor dealing with probably Gore or whatever, Doctor Strange dealing with whatever he's dealing with in the multiverse of madness, you do have and Captain Marvel dealing with something in space. You have an excuse for why the more powerful characters aren't getting involved here. And just this guy, this one idiot, almost like, who this would be? Honestly, Justin Hammer would be the Jar Jar Binks of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in that he's the guy who votes for emergency powers. He gives Chancellor Palpatine too much power, and then Chancellor Palpatine takes over. Like, I think it's fine to have a villain like that who shows that you don't have to just be evil. You just can't be in charge of everything if you're not any good. I see Program Incomplete asks, do I think Gore is the God Bitch is going to be in Thor 4? Yeah, I do. It seems I'll put, I don't want to put money on it, but I'll stake some of my reputation on that's who Christian Bale is playing. Perfect role for him. He's like, so for people that don't know, Gore the God Butcher is basically Job from the Bible, who is just this guy who his life has been ruined, and he sees the gods as being the, people or any gods have been responsible for it. So then, excuse me, it's not even right here. Oh, it's 10:15. He's like, oh, the gods are the problem, so I'm going to go kill all of the gods, including the Norse gods and Thor. He gets all black the Necro Sword, which is the weapon that Hela might as well have, but I'm sure they could make it even cooler. And then Gore would be the big bad of Thor 4. which would be kind of cool. It would make sense why that, or not make sense, but it would be like, why do you have more than 2 Thors? Well, because Gore's after gods. He's going to try to kill all the gods. I am reading from YouTube in case. So I see Luke asked. Yeah, it's my YouTube channel. Does the Discord have this up? Because I'll read from them too. That's a good question. I read the ones that come in on the Patreon, and I don't have them on Twitter. Oh man, hold on a second. If there is a Discord chat going on here, let me know because I will definitely look that up. I've been thinking about Dario Agger and the Minotaur and Roxanne. I just don't think they're that. I think we're at a point where it kind of has to be Gore. Thor is too good. And I think Love and Thunder will be because all the rest of them are pretty terrestrial. I think Love and Thunder will be very spacey. So I think he'll be. I don't think Dario Agger, for people that don't know, is in charge of Roxanne Energy, or is an executive in Roxanne, and he creates the he is his alter ego is the Minotaur. Does he like get a rune or something that turns him into like a hulkish kind of Minotaur super being? I'm trying to remember because he was in War of the Realms. He took over Australia, or not Australia, Antarctica. But he could be Dario Agger. I don't know. I just see him as Gore. Mostly because he gets really skinny, just like Gore. I think if Gore is the villain, it has to be the final Thor movie. Yeah, I think that's fair. Prayed to a Minotaur god or something as a kid. Yeah, that sounds right. Aesthetic oranges. I think if Gore is the villain, it has to be the final Thor movie. Can't really go above Gore in threats against Thor. Yes and no. I think, well, for sure. I think you could do Surtur again. You bring Surtur back, have Surtur. God, I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right. Although in the years between now and then, we could have Donny Cates as Thor, just create a new supervillain that's like as good as Thor. But also, I think we could be done with Thor movies too. The problem is they just get better and better, which is not usually how it works. They usually get worse and worse, like Iron Man kind of. And you're like, well, you know what? I guess maybe we're done with Iron Man movies. We'll just have them be in the Avengers. But we'll see, because I also think you could kill Thor and have Jane Foster Thor be the main Thor from now on. I think there's an opportunity there. Let's think. Anything else about Justin Hammer? He has to get a mech suit. Is there a thing that is worse than Gore? Starts with a B. I mean, there's the guy that was the bad guy in Fear itself, but he's so similar to Hela and other characters that have been around. I know who you're. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was. God, he calls himself the Serpent, but he has another name. I mean, there's that guy. You could basically write him as evil Odin, but I don't know. I mean, you could do anything you want. You have Enchanters finally show up, although I think she'll show up here. How devoted is Natalie Portman? I don't know. I think Natalie Portman's not like a what's the word? I don't think Natalie Portman's like a mercenary, almost like a gun for hire, where she has to. But I think like she's not committed unless the movies are good. And I think if Thor 4 is good, then I think you could convince her to go. And if the experience is good, I think she'd stick around. I think she just, like, she was in the second one, which seemed like it was a nightmare. And, like, what's his name? Christopher Eccleston hated it. The movie wasn't very good. Like, why would she? Not why would she, but I could totally see her just being like, yeah, I think I'm done with these. But so I think if Thor 4 is successful and she has a good and she has fun with it, and she's like a good, symbol for people, and people really like that character, then yeah, absolutely, I think she'll come back. With Justin Hammer being competent Secretary of Defense, you think certain societies would pop up for ground heroes to deal with, like Serpent Society? Yeah, I think you could do that. I think you could have the Serpent Society show up. You could have like the Mafia step up. I think the Hood would be a good place to. He could show up and kind of take over the New York criminal underworld, give Moon Knight and Deadshot something to do, or not Deadshot. Wow, Moon Knight and Hawkeye something to do. You could have the magicians or the Circus of Crime show up. I think that would be super fun. Make them the Hawkeye villains. So yeah, and would I want? So that's Aesthetic Oranges. Luke Fisher. Would I want Hammer to try to butt out? Would I want Hammer to try to butt out Stark Industries? Or buy out Stark? Is that buyout? I think that's what you meant. Yeah, because they're right next to each other on the keyboard. Or would you leave that to Osborne to buy it out, to butt it out? Maybe he did mean butt, because he said that twice. Stark Industries, I think, could be under the control of Pepper, but I think it could kind of fall into the background. If we're talking about who bought the tower, I think the Fantastic Four have to have it. But I don't. But I think Stark Industries has to kind of disappear. You did me by. Okay, that's what I thought. I think Norman Osborn, if he's going to be a real like plausible villain, has to be a self-made man. He has to be the worst businessman you can ever imagine. Like, not worst, but like most competent businessman you can ever imagine. But he does need to have a story that people believe in. So when he creates the Dark Avengers, then it's like, oh, maybe he's bad now, or maybe there's something we can trust because this guy, he's perfect. You can mix Thunderbolts with Dark Avengers, have Ghost be Black Widow. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Uncover Yellow Jacket suit for Ant-Man equivalent. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted an Ant-Man equivalent, there's a certain an Eric O'Grady type that would be perfect for bad Ant-Man. The Avengers Tower is totally Oscorp built, and that was Jackson Mauron. And through Gates, Avengers Tower is Oscorp building. I don't know. I think Avengers Tower. I mean, there was that little thing that seemed to tease it being the Fantastic Four, like the Baxter Building. But again, I feel like everything Norman Osborn has to come like off the sweat of his own brow. If they can still work with Sony, it'll be the Osborn Tower. If not, I think it'll be the Baxter Building. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I'd rather be the Baxter Building just because I want Osborn Tower to be the old one because Spider-Man ran across there. It exists. I guess like you're thinking like Oscorp Tower. Yeah. I don't know. Where is Avengers Tower supposed to be in the city? It's close to it's in like Manhattan, right? Or like Midtown, like in like 30th or 40th Street. I want to say in the Spider-Man game, Avengers Tower is closer to, it's like further uptown. Oh yeah, it's behind Grand Central. Yes. So yeah. It's too late. Is it too late for Roxxon to be relevant? So yeah, Grand Central is what? 30th Street? 32nd Street? So yeah, that's doable. But yeah, I like Osborn to be a little further uptown, a little bit more like like high society. But yeah, I think that's right, Jackson. They do need to introduce Norman and Doc Ock soon if they want payoff. I agree. And I think they're in a tough spot because they didn't want to infringe on like characters people already really like. They want to make their own thing, which I get. But yeah, it's going to take 2 or 3 movies for Norman Osborn to be the final big bad of all of it. Is it too late? Andrew Gates asks, is it too late in the MCU for Roxxon to be relevant? Kind of. Roxxon exists in Agent Carter, I believe. And it's kind of been one of those things that like blink, you if you pay attention to a scene, you'll see a Roxxon truck or something. But I think if you could do whatever you want if you scale it right. Roxxon could be the big bad of Moon Knight. That's totally fine. I don't think anyone would mind that. But Roxxon can't be the big bad of like Thor 4 maybe. Yeah, it was in a lot of TV shows that are no longer canon. Yeah, I don't know what the canon's like, but I don't know. Jarvis is in it now, so. Oh yeah, because Roxxon's also the bad guy in Daredevil 2 with Elektra. And by a lot, I mean Cloak and Dagger, sure. Mentor figure for half the movie. Yeah, I think and that's the other thing. I think if it wasn't for the Spider-Man 4 game or PS4 game, it'd be like, that's so good. That's so like, it's so perfect that what else do you do with Dr. Octopus? They use Roxxon and Cloak and Dagger, not involved with anything, but it's there. Yeah, I like Cloak and Dagger a little bit. I watched the first couple episodes, and Roxxon was there. People that don't know, Roxxon is just like an energy company in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or in the Marvel Comics universe, and I guess the Marvel Cinematic Universe eventually. So I think we done. We're at the hour mark, which I'm trying to keep these at like little less than an hour, half hour. So any other questions, real quick before we go? I'll give you guys a second to answer. And I'll draw more things on Justin Hammer. Really try to like get a sense for like what his face is like, because he's got a pretty well defined face. When it comes to like you know, he doesn't have quite as square of a jaw, but he does have pretty solid cheekbones because he's an actor. But what about the final? This is kind of a joke. What about the final season of Agents of Shield? I really can't tell because I didn't watch 6. I've watched all the others. I heard 6 wasn't very good. I don't know. They could reset some canon there, give Agent Carter something cool to do, and like fix that. But I don't know. With what we know about timelines and stuff, I can't see any of it mattering. I can't believe they did Graviton. And they had it be, what's his name? That was so silly. It could have been so cool. Justin Hammer versus Thanos, all those dance moves. Hammer has a chance. I think I'd like to see Justin Hammer dance off, what's his name? Dance off with Peter Quill. He could teach him a few things. I mean, if you've never seen, go watch clips. There's like super cuts of what's his name? Of Sam Rockwell dancing, like talk shows and stuff. And he's amazing. He's got so much. And the thing with him, I've watched videos just to try to figure out how to do it. Is it's a lot of footwork, nothing crazy, but it makes these faces and does things with his hands, with like his, like a jacket he's wearing, and he's good at keeping everything interesting. Real quick, Jackson, Shia LaBeouf for Moon Knight, sure. Speaking it into existence, okay, we'll say it 3 times. Shia LaBeouf for Moon Knight, Shia LaBeouf Moon Knight, Shia LaBeouf Moon Knight. 2 more times for Candyman, Shia LaBeouf Moonlight, Shia LaBeouf Moonlight. That should be enough, as far as I understand. 6 is not good, but it's better than season 4. Oh my god, I love season 4. Oh, you meant 5. I see what you mean. Yeah, season 5 sucked. Season 4 was great. Do you think? All right, so last one, Aesthetic Oranges. Do I think Abomination will return for She-Hulk? I saw the idea. It's just a normal actor for the majority of the series, but he turns back for the last episode. I don't know. I think for She-Hulk, and I don't know who you would do, except the Wrecking Crew actually is positioned pretty well, like for being a street level villain. I think the point of She-Hulk, I think this is especially true of even more so than Wonder Woman, a female spin-off character, is you can't just give her the table scraps from the male character. She can't just get Abomination like Hulk's leftovers. I think maybe you could give her leader. I think she could, because I mean, I think it's fair. Like saying that, I don't think leader really got a fair shot, and I think giving Jessica leader to deal with would be a good way to go about it. Having it be Hulk, having it be Abomination is like, well, Hulk already beat him. I also don't think he'd be that threatening. And I think leader, I wish they hadn't used Absorbing Man already, because I think he would be great there. Zax, or whatever the heck his name is. There's not a lot of great Hulk villains that we haven't touched yet. Blastar, I don't know if he's a Hulk villain. I don't know. I'd like to see what they're doing with him in the because the Immortal Hulk story or books are apparently very good, and I'm just kind of too far behind to really get into them. Sigma Teeth, and I got 3 X-Men books a week. I'm trying to keep up with that as much as I can, which apparently some very interesting things are going on. Oh, sure, that's true. You know who She-Hulk will probably fight? I'll put money on this too. Titania. I think this is where, or not Titania. Titania? Yeah, Titania Thundra. I always get those two confused. She will fight the one that's Absorbing Man's girlfriend, because the MCU loves mirror villains. So yeah, that'll definitely happen. Yeah, it's usually this weird legal shenanigans dip in the superhero world. Yeah, I'm curious about that, but I think we'll get Thundra. We could also throw Tigra in here. You know who we could also have that would be kind of fun? I don't know if as a villain, but I'd love to see Wonder Man pop up in one of these. Simon, the like actor / model / probably scientist too. I can't remember, who gets like ion powers and turns into a purple guy. He's a fun 90s Avenger. There's a lot of those guys that we haven't really touched yet. I mean, Matt Murdock, Kevin Perry. Matt Murdock should show up in She-Hulk, but probably won't. Probably just get a little lip service. Although I think they'll probably figure something out with him at some point. I think there will be a Daredevil reboot, and we'll have a proper Matt Murdock. But I think this is a good place to end it. So thank you guys all for coming on the stream. Thank you all for being patrons. It's really, I always say it's really helpful, but it really is really, really helpful. We had fun here. I will eventually make one of these into a video, like an actual produced video, because I want to talk about that. I have a new video that's going to go out at the end of next month. or the beginning of next month. I'm gonna put it out like March 2nd. So that should be a lot of fun. New Mostly Nitpicking we just recorded on the Mummy is a lot of fun. We're doing Invisible Man next week. I'm gonna be moving for the next couple days, so I won't be super active on social media. But in like by the end of next week, I should be pretty like. I mean, I'll still be active on social media, but it might take me a second to like get things going, which is why it's nice that I have this video pretty much already done. But yeah, thank you guys for being patrons. I'll put up the next week of voting. Like I'll put that voting up really soon, like early March, so we can get this rolling and maybe get something out before the absolute end of March. And yeah, thank you guys all for staying on the live stream. I hope we all had fun. That's all I got. I will see you next time. Goodbye. I messed up his cheekbone.